After 3 months of investigating on the flat Earth model, I finally found the 100% proof that the Earth is not a globe. And that's how I found it. This video is called Go Fast 2014. You can check out the full video, link is in the description. Basically, this video is a world record for the highest private rocket ever launched into space, and you can see the full flight without any cuts, filmed from 3 onboard cameras. The highest altitude is about 120 kilometers or 73 miles. That's so amazing. I always searched for a video like this. Unfortunately, it appears that the camera have fisheye lenses, however, the Earth still looks flat. I was watching this video at least 100 times and analyzed it frame by frame, hoping to find a proof for either the flat Earth or the globe Earth model. And then it hit me. The moon. You can clearly see the moon in these videos. Would that even be possible if the Earth is a globe? If I check the position of the moon at the date and time the video was taken, and it turns out that the moon would be underneath the curvature, it would prove that the Earth is not a globe. The video was shot on the 14th of July 2014. Unfortunately, I couldn't find the time the rocket was launched, and I would need a time to get the exact position of the moon. So I started investigating to find an approximate time when the rocket was launched. I found this video that was taken a few moments before the rocket was launched.
I did 2 circles around the rocket. Landed safely. Now the next morning I did a short flight just before the rocket launched.
Did you hear what he said? He said the next morning I did a short flight just before the rocket launched. That means the rocket was launched somewhere in the morning. It looks clear, the sun is already out, so it can't be that early in the morning. However, after the launch, they were flying in a helicopter to see where the rocket comes down. For a split second in this video, you can see a GPS device in the helicopter, which shows the time, and the time is 11:40. So the launch must be between approximately 8 o'clock at the morning and 11 AM. The rocket was launched in the Black Rock Desert in Nevada, USA. In July, Nevada's time zone is Pacific Daylight Time, which is UTC -7. Now, let's check out where the moon was at this time. I'm using timeanddate.com and trying to find where the moon was on the 14th of July from 15 o'clock UTC to 18 o'clock UTC. As you can see, by the time the rocket was launched, the moon was in this area, right over Australia. So, if the Earth is a globe, it would be impossible to see the moon from Nevada, because the moon would basically be on the other side of the globe. To imagine this better, there's this website called solarsystemscope.com, and you can also simulate a date and time here, and I also put the right date in I'm not sure about the time zone here, so I just placed it so the moon would be above Australia, like we saw it on timeanddate.com. So if the Earth is a globe, and if this is our solar system, then tell me, how is it possible to see the moon, which would be here, from Nevada, USA, which is here? It's impossible. So if you say that the Earth is a globe, please tell me how this is possible.
Hier haben wir jetzt nochmal den Go-Fast-Start mit einer GoPro an der Seite montiert. Das ist der gleiche Start wie am Anfang auch. Man sieht, diese Rakete steigt senkrecht nach oben. Die steigt nicht wie die normalen Space Shuttle oder andere Raketen in diesem Bogen auf. Erreicht eine Höhe von 73 Kilometern, ca. 110 Kilometern. Und was dann da oben passiert, das ist doch sehr, sehr seltsam. Uns wird ja erzählt, dass Satelliten mit einer immensen Geschwindigkeit von wie viel 1000 Kilometern pro Sekunde um die Erde rasen, um halt der Fliehkraft zu entfliehen und nicht auf die Erde zu fallen. Jetzt frage ich mich, wie kann es denn sein, dass wo die Rakete oben ankommt und ja stecken bleibt, oder vielleicht hat sie auch dieses Ding getroffen, was da gleich zu sehen ist, das werdet ihr nämlich gleich sehen, da ist nämlich oben ein Satellit. Also für mich sieht das ganz klar so aus wie ein Satellit. Habe ich in Einzelframes mal rausgezogen, kann man auf dem Originalvideo auch selber nachvollziehen. Das ist also wirklich wahr. Es ist da oben ein Satellit. Aber warum fliegt er nicht, sondern schwebt da? Was ist da los? Da stimmt doch was nicht.
With this video, I intend to show that this rocket launched by NASA hit God's dome, his firmament, and proving that there is a firmament which is spoke of in the Bible by God.
Altitude 32 kilometers, speed 1 kilometer per second, downrange distance 13 kilometers.
Eddie coming back shows vehicle on course.
Now let's go back and take an account of what happened here. First, you will see that the front end of this rocket will explode. And when I say explode, I don't really mean to literally explode. I mean it made contact with the dome. Because as you can see, the rear end of the rocket is still there intact. You can see the booster at the back end right here. Right here is when it first makes contact with the dome. And what I believe happens is that after this contact, the rest of this rocket skims along the dome, the underside of the dome, until it disintegrates itself all the way down to this where the fuel is probably carried at the bottom right here, and then explodes. Let's continue. And I'll point out every now and then that the back end of the rocket is still there, as indicated by this light right here, by its booster light here. And as you'll be able to see clearly throughout the rest of this video up until it explodes, that the main body of this rocket is still intact. Also, let me point out, if there was nothing that this rocket run into and only air was filling the front end after the initial damage, why would it still be on the same course? I believe this rocket is skimming along the underside of the dome, and it's remaining there because of the force added to it by the booster at the end here. Right here is when I believe the back end of this rocket, the booster, and all of its fuel that's remaining, slammed into the dome and disintegrated, as indicated by all the debris you see flying off of it. Now I'm going to run this video back at full speed, and you be the judge of this. Keep in mind what I said about this rocket hitting an object and skimming along this object until it destroys itself at the end. And I'll thank you now for watching.
Wir können nur im Orbit fliegen, weiter hinaus können wir nicht. Und das neue System, das wir bauen, erlaubt uns in Zukunft hoffentlich, Menschen weiter hinaus in unser Sonnensystem zu fliegen. Zum Mond, Mars oder Asteroiden. Es sind viele Orte, die wir dann erreichen könnten. Wir können nur im Orbit fliegen, weiter hinaus können wir nicht. Flugzeug, Ballon oder Rakete, gleichgültig wie hoch wir auch kommen, wir fallen stets wieder zur Erde zurück. Selbst wenn man sich die Raketen betrachtet, welche sie hochschicken, kann man deutlich sehen, dass sie nicht senkrecht hochsteigen. All ihre Raketen machen nach wenigen Sekunden eine Kurve, sie neigen sich zurück zur Seite. Die Raketen, welche sie als Erfolg verbuchen, sind jene, die es für ihre kostspielige Show hoch genug schaffen, und dann schwenkt die Kamera von ihnen weg, bevor sie herunterfallen. Wenn dann irgendjemand fragt, warum neigen sie sich immer zurück zur Erde, sagen die Freimaurer der Raumfahrtagenturen, dass die Raketen um die Krümmung der Erdkugel fliegen, sie bald die Austrittsgeschwindigkeit erreichen und dann an diesen magischen Punkt gelangen, an welchen sie aus dem Bereich der angeblich natürlichen Erdanziehungskraft austreten und einfach schweben, was allerdings ein weiteres Problem darstellt, denn wenn sich ein Flugzeug in einem luftleeren Raum befindet und es mit Raketenantrieb ausgestattet ist, dann gibt es nichts, wogegen es sich abstoßen und keine Richtung, in die es sich bewegen könnte. Es würde sich wohl wie ein Kreisel wild und endlos drehen. Auf diese Weise würde man nirgendwo hingelangen. Die ganze Vorstellung einer Raumfahrt ist ein riesiger Witz. Es ist alles nur Science Fiction.
All right, let's just rescue them and get out of here.
Hooray! They're saved!
Today's increasing international emphasis on long-range ballistic missile activity raises to priority attention the mastering of high-altitude burst effects phenomenology. At stake are urgent problems, such as those associated with ICBM defense, as well as the upper air burst effects on radio communications and radar. On hardtack, 3 high-altitude shots were fired to acquire data necessary to develop a national capability for high-altitude warfare. Yucca, a 1.7 kiloton device suspended from a balloon, and Teak and Orange, both 3.8 megaton devices carried by Redstone missiles. All were fired to obtain effects data for the fulfillment of 3 general objectives. First, to find out how extreme altitudes affect the partition of energy in a nuclear detonation, and what is the radial extent of the various phenomena. Second, to determine scaling laws for various effects as a function of altitude and yield. Third, to determine the effects of high-altitude bursts on the ionosphere and on the propagation of radio and radar signals. A brief recapitulation of the findings in line with the general objectives sought from Teak, Orange, and Yucca shows first that high-altitude nuclear detonations are characterized by the rapid development of energy phenomena.
Eagle looking great, your go. We copy you down, Eagle. Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. Eagle looking great, your go. We copy you down, Eagle. We copy you down, Eagle. Okay, all flight controllers, gonna go for landing. Retro. Go. I don't go. Guys, go. Control. Go. Telcom. Go. GNC. Go. Econ. Insurgent. Go. Capcom, we're go for landing. Go for landing. Retro. Go. I don't go. Guys, go. Control. Go. Telcom. Go. GNC. Go. Econ. Insurgent. Go. Capcom, we're go for landing. Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
I know we have still not shattered that highest and hardest glass ceiling, but someday someone will, and hopefully sooner than we might think right now.
Så det är gott där uppe också. Okay, so Genesis speaks of the dome, and I wanted to find it. And I looked, and I knew where to look, and I found it. And I found that it has grid lines on it. And this is important because this comes into play a little bit later. Spoken of in different ways by the ancients, at least the creation spoken of is a much more accurate depiction of what we have around us in this true reality. And stars are not so far away, and the sun's not so far away, and the moon's not so far away, and the earth is flat. And here are the eclipse. Eclipses are from these orbs that are always rotating like clockwork around the sun, the moon, everything in the sky. It has these less or non-visible orbs, seldom visible orbs going around that cause the phases and the eclipsing. And it explains the shadows and things. So it's a belief system that society, science, the enemy wants you not to believe in. They want you to believe the alternatives, and anything that is evidence is a good thing, I think, if it leads towards truth and towards God. And that's why I wanted to share this with you, and I hope it makes your day. Thanks.
I know we have still not shattered that highest and hardest glass ceiling, but someday someone will, and hopefully sooner than we might think right now.